Hello there, this is DBT, and these are the rumors. And alright, it's time for another DBT's wishlist video. Oh yeah baby, in this series I talk about things that I would like for the game to change, small adjustments, some big adjustments, it's all over there. But in this video in particular, I'm gonna talk about something, well you can see it on the title, probably in the thumbnail too, holy moly, alright. I'm gonna be talking about engine sounds, and while this video is out there for everybody to watch, I want to address this video directly to Gameloft because I think these are changes that will be good for the game, even if a little bit small, and at the same time these are changes that are not really all that, I would imagine, all that difficult to do. I'm not gonna be asking over here for the sounds to be re-recorded and I need the cars to sound 175% more real. No, all the suggestions that I'm gonna make over here are about things that are already in the game and it's just about tweaking stuff. So yeah, there's two main topics. The first one is gonna be the wrong engine sound for some cars, and the second topic is gonna be engine volumes. So let's talk about the first one, and that's why I decided to bring this car, the Lamborghini Gallardo, because this is a very good example of a car that has the wrong sound assigned to it. In real life, this car has a V10 sound, but over here it has a V12 for some reason. Now, before I go into more detail about it, I want to make very clear that I'm not trying to crap all over the developers or anything. I can only talk about Lamborghinis because it's, well, you know, I'm a huge Lambo fanboy. So of course I would know some stuff about Lamborghini, but in the same way, you can ask me anything about a Ferrari engine and I'm not going to be able to tell you a single thing because I don't know anything about that or about pretty much any other brand. I only know Lambos because I love Lambos, so that's what I want to talk about over here. So that's why I said that I don't want to make it sound like I'm trying to crap on the developers, because again, I don't know a lot of things. There's no way that they could keep track of every single little bit of the engine sounds. A lot of these engine sounds were assigned even before the team that is currently working on Asphalt they started working on it. For example, this car, this is a very old car, and I don't know, maybe from the beginning it had the wrong engine sound, so who knows. But yeah, I want to make these small suggestions over here, small, I guess. But yeah, so again, this is a V12 engine sound. Well, it really should sound more like this. This is the Lambo Huracan, and yeah, this one in real life has a V10, and in game it has also a V10, so it matches very well. And this is exactly what I need to talk about, or what I want to talk about really, about some of these Lambos that have the wrong engine sound. So it is convenient that I have all of the Lambos because then I can do a quick overview. I'm not going to show you every single one in game because that is going to take us forever. Instead, let's just have a look at the list. And we're going to start, of course, from Class D and upwards, so I guess downwards in this UI. I think you know what I mean. So, Lamborghini Urus, in real life it has a V8, over here it sounds an engine that sounds very similar, and in fact, in this game it has a very good whine. So I think this sounds fantastic. I have zero problems with it. I'm gonna skip a second, I'm gonna skip this one for a second because I want to talk about the Miura. Now, the Miura, it's a very old car, it's like from the 60s if I remember correctly. It does have a V12, obviously a Lambo V12, but this car should not sound like an Aventador, because the sound that you may or may not, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the sound that you may think about Lambos V12, it's that really high-pitched sound that you hear on an Aventador, maybe on a Murcielago, on other cars, more recent cars. This is not the case with the Miura. This being a very old car, it does have a V12, but they hadn't developed just yet that high pitch. So I think the engine sound that they gave to the Miura in this fits very well. It sounds like a V12, but not a Lambo V12. It sounds like a lower pitch. It sounds a little different, and I think it fits really well, which is precisely the situation with the Countach. In this game, they gave it the Lambo V12, the high pitch one, but again, it's an old car and they hadn't developed just yet the high pitch. So I think this car could really do with this same engine sound. It would be great, but even if they don't do it, at the end of the day, it's still a V12, it's still a Lambo, so I can accept this one sounding like an Aventador. I don't really have much of a problem. My main concern is just that there's too many Lambos with that sound, and that's precisely what brought me to talk about this topic. But anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about, well, Asterion, this is fine. It has a V10 engine, and so it does in the game. So this is perfectly fine. Then we go to the Gallardo, the example that I gave you. This one has a V12 in the game, but it should be the V10 of the Huracan. So this one would do great with an adjustment there. Lamborghini Stoke, It also has a V10 in game. It has a V10 in real life. This is good. We got the Murcielago, high pitch V12 Lambo. This is great. We got the Egoista. This is a peculiar one because this car is based on the Gallardo, so it should sound like a V10. But in real life, this car, really nobody has heard it going because there's only one in the world. It's super expensive and Lamborghini doesn't take it out ever, so we don't really know what it sounds like. We can only assume that it sounds like a regular Gallardo V10 because that is the engine that it has, but hey, we don't know. In the game, in here in Asphalt, they gave it the sound that I very much think of when it comes to McLarens. They gave this engine sound to a lot of McLarens, so to me this sounds like the McLaren engine sound, which it's something that we're going to talk about later in the same video, but for the time being, let's just forget about this car. I'm okay with it having that sound. Lamborghini Sesto Elemento, this is another one that in the game has erroneously the V12. This should also have a V10, because again, it's another model that was based on the Gallardo. We got the Huracan Super Trofeo Evo, a racing car, but it is a Huracan at the end of the day, so it should sound like a V10. Instead, it has the V12. This one could do also with an adjustment. We got the Aventador Coupe that screams like a Lambo V12. This is fine. We got the Huracan that we just checked. It's a V10 in real life and in game, so this is perfectly fine. We got the Veneno with the Lambo V12. This is good. We got the Essenza SV12. I'm gonna skip it for a second. We'll come back to this one in a bit. We got the Aventador SVJ with the Lambo V12. This is good. We got the SC20 with the Lambo V12. This is good. Countach PI Lambo V12. This is good. Terzo Millennio, well, it's an electric, so they gave it an electric sound, so I guess it's actually good. The real version of the car doesn't really go, but hey, it's an electric, or it's meant to be electric, so that's fine. Aventador Super Veloce Lambo V12, this is good also. Cian, also V12 Lambo, this is good. Centenario is a peculiar case, because to the Centenario, they gave the same V12, I'm gonna call it the unknown V12, because I don't know what specific V12s it sounds like, but they gave it the same engine sound that they gave to the Miura, the one that I said that also the Countach, the old Countach, should probably have. Now, this should sound like a Lambo V12 because this is absolutely just based on the Aventador, so it should sound pretty much the same. However, I understand that a lot of people love this car, they're very used to the current sound, so I think this is fine if they want to keep it, but if they wanted to be slightly closer to reality, the Lambo V12 should be the thing. But honestly, even I am not bothered that it has a slightly different engine sound. This is fine. So, why did I skip? Alright, I got a little interrupted IRL, but anyway, coming back to the topic. Why did I skip the SCV12? Well, it also has a Lambo V12, but this is a peculiar case because this is a track-only car. This is not a road legal car, and what that means is that it was designed to rev really high, which makes the car have an even higher pitch than normal for a Lambo. Now, I wanted to take a second on this one because here I have a small suggestion, a little bit crazy maybe, but I think this car should have the same engine sound that they gave to cars like the Apollo IE, the Ferrari FXXK, because those are precisely cars that rev ridiculously high and they sound almost F1-ish, that level of craziness. You don't believe me? Check this out. Now, credit for this video goes to 19Buzzy92. I'm gonna leave the link to the video in the description if you want to check it out. But just listen to this, it's insane. It sounds so good. It's a V12, it's a Lambo V12, but it revs to hell and back. Holy moly. Obviously, when it's taking the turns, it has to lower the rev so it sounds slower, but as soon as it gets back into a straight, it just sounds unbelievable. Oh man, I love how this thing sounds. I would dare to say probably one of the most aggressive sounding Lambos, precisely because it's exclusively dedicated to be track only. Look at the glowing of the disc. Oh man, it looks amazing. Anyway, my point being that yeah, this car in real life sounds absolutely crazy. I love it. So that is why I believe that in the game it could really do with that F1-ish type of sound that they gave to the Apollo IE, to the Ferrari FXX, and actually to the F1 cars also in the game. I think this is the one Lambo that deserves it. Hold on, let's just give it a second. I want to listen to it again. Oh yeah. So yeah, that is my point as to why I think this particular car could do with that engine sound. But anyway, that was my quick overview on the Lambos, the ones that I think that could do with some adjustment, particularly the B10s. Changing those erroneous B12s into B10s, I think that would be great. And again, one last time, I don't want to make it sound like I'm trying to crap on the developers for, oh, they don't know which engine sound it should have. No, it's not about that. I understand. Not everybody can know everything, so this is why on the topic that I know a little bit about, I want to give this information, put it out there, hoping that maybe Game Love will listen to me, please, maybe, please. But alright, let's change topic a little bit. And now the music really is gonna take a backseat over here. I put it very, very low because the main thing that I want you to listen to is what you see on the screen over here. What you see, it's a recording that I did directly on the game by reducing, or rather removing all of the sounds, all of the music, the sound effects, and just keeping the engine sound. And this is a recording of the V10 in the game. Alright, now why am I showing you this? Well, over here you can see the waveform. If you're familiar with this type of display, if you've ever done any type of sound editing, you know what you're looking at. But if you don't, just a quick idea of what this is. This is just the visualization of all the wave, the volumes in the waveform, meaning the sound itself. So over here, all of these are peaks. And over here it increases volume a little bit, it goes down, peaks, goes down, peaks. For example, this is when the engine is revving higher and higher. And this peaks is when it switches gears because the sound changes and it's a different frequency. And over here on the right side, you can also see these bars which illustrate the volume at which it is playing. It goes negative, this is 0 decibels, you can maybe see the number, it says 0, and down over here it says minus 23 decibels, that's what this means. So obviously the lower this is the lower the volume. You effectively never want to reach 0, because that is the maximum volume before it starts clipping, which makes the sound, the sounds sound bad. But anyway, technicalities aside, this is just a visualization of how loud the engine is. Over here, because, oh Jesus Christ, over here, because it's when the engine is barely starting to rev, it's slower. As it continues to increase, you can see that it goes louder and louder, a little bit quieter, louder and louder as it builds up, right? And that reflects on this side. Alright, I hope that is a little bit clear if you're unfamiliar. Now, Gameloft is most definitely very familiar with this, but I'm just doing this for people that don't know what this is about. Why am I showing you this? Well, that is because I took the liberty of recording some of the engine sounds in the game to see what are their volume levels, because some of them are too low. Now, I'm going to show you now the B12, and you can see just by looking at the waveform that it isn't at around the same level of volume. You can see this peak over here, or rather this... Well, yeah, this high section over here kind of matches this, so you can imagine that it's around the same volume. So listen to this. But now if you see that the bars are reaching closer to 0, not quite there yet, but it gets closer, it gets like at minus 2 decibels or something like that. Again, on the peaks, on these sections that look bigger or taller if you wish. So yeah, again, just check this and look at the right side over here. And those are some picks, but in general, this is the main part of the engine sound that is, let's say, in constant loop. And you can kind of see where it lands, which is kind of similar to this. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea in terms of the volume. Now, I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller because there's more engine sounds that I want to show you. Again, this was the V10, this is a V12. Over here we have the engine sound from That's the 4GT. Again, look at the waveform. You can see that the volume kind of corresponds. It's kind of similar to the volume over here. This one, you can already see that it looks a little bit smaller, not as tall. The peaks, yeah, well, they're a little bit high, but over here, let's say the medium, or I don't know what to call this, but yeah, you can see this line that I'm trying to draw over here. It's much lower than all these other things. What is this? That is the sound of the Lycan Hypersport. I have no idea what type of engine it is, because again, I don't know about other brands, but you get an idea. That's the F1 type of engine sound. That's actually recorded from the FXXK. That's the Musler Super GT. And that is a Bugatti Vision Gran Turismo. So why am I showing you all of this? Well, I brought all of these engines because even though you can see that some are louder than others, overall they have a relatively average, or I would say the average on the volume, it's kind of similar. Overall, they're loud engines, or what I would say the normal engine volume in the game. Again, just a quick comparison. Though you can hear that the Bugatti is a little bit more quiet, but overall it's not too terrible. I do wish that the Bugatti was a little bit louder. But as much as I wanted to show you this, I wanted to show you these other ones over here. Can you tell the difference between the volume on all of this versus the volume in all of this? Yes, these are much quieter engines. This is a McLaren P1 GTR. 720S GT3X, which is kind of the same-ish sound, although it does have a little bit of variety. By the way, these spikes you see they tend to be just the turbocharger kicking in. Over here we have that's the Fordzilla, and over here the Senna. So just by looking at the waveform, you can tell how these are much more quieter than any of this. And that is exactly the problem that I want to bring to the surface. Some engine sounds are way too quiet. And again, I think you can notice this by just playing the game, but I really wanted to make it a little bit more visual so that you could see precisely how even just the waveform look different. And this is a problem for me, because I enjoy greatly the engine sounds in the game. I love it. I honestly believe that the engine sounds in Asphalt 8 are actually better than those in Asphalt 9. Maybe the quality, the amount of what do you call it? Kilobits per second. Yeah, there we go. I finally remember. The amount of kilobits per second may be lower in this in these sound files, but overall they do have more punch to them, and I love them. And that is why I enjoy, for example, the game itself. I run it perpetually like this. I have the sound effect at 75% and the engine at 100%. This is how I enjoy it playing the game, because it makes the engine sound stand out even more. And overall, if I put the sound effects at 100%, it's a little bit too noisy overall. But the engine being loud and this being a little bit quieter, that's how I love this game. But it becomes a problem when certain cars have really low engine volumes, and that honestly makes me not want to play so much with those cars. Again, this is why I wanted to make a video on this whole topic, because it's not a huge deal. None of this is game breaking by any means. But at the same time, that's what I was trying to say. That these are things that could easily be changed by either adjusting the volume in the code, if they can do that probably, or at the very least they can probably just edit the waveform, the sound files that are used by the game, so that they are louder. So this is indeed what I wanted to bring out, the fact that some of these engine sounds are really, really low. Again, P1 GTR, 720S GT3X, Fordzilla, Senna, compared to a V12 of a Lambo. So again, all of this was recorded with the exact same volume when I was recording. So this is, I didn't move anything. This is not tweaked so that it looks more dramatic. No. This is straight up from the game. So you can tell, and then just compare this to this. It's absolutely worlds apart. And for example, you remember that I skipped a little bit on the Egoista when I was doing the list a little bit earlier in this video? That is precisely because the Egoista was given this engine sound. For the longest time, I thought that that was a bad engine sound. I never liked it until I actually heard it in a different game, that being Asphalt 7. Okay, I'm gonna lower the volume a little bit just so that I can talk while this is playing. But the engine in this game, I heard it when I started playing Asphalt 7 again recently, and I'm like, wow, this sounds fantastic. And then I realized that it's that exact same sound that I hate in Asphalt 8. Why do I hate it in Asphalt 8? I realized it's not because the sound is bad, it's because it's extremely quiet and you don't get to hear it. Over here, I'm gonna raise the volume again. And then comparing it to Asphalt 8 at approximately the same volume, where is it? Did you notice that I could hear all of the other engine sounds when I got close to all the cars, but my engine sound was drowned? That is because the engine sound of this car is very low. And then we continue playing the video. And I hear a lot when I'm doing jumps, when I'm picking up nitro, but the engine sound is extremely low. And again, this is at the same volume levels that I just showed you, where sound effects are at 75% and the engine is at 100%. And even like that, I can barely hear it. So as I was saying, one would say, well, DBT, why don't you just increase the volume for when you're playing with the Senna? Well, first of all, it's going to be a bit of a pain in the rear to be changing the volumes based on the car that I am driving. Ideally, you would want all of the cars to have a very similar volume so that you know what to expect. But then even if I increase the volume massively to the engine sounds, which I can't anymore because I'm already at 100%, I would have to decrease the volume of the sound effect and then turn up the volume on my side on the computer. But then again, when you're in the middle of a bunch of cars like it is over here, all of those engine sounds would be that much louder. That is the problem that I have with this. And just to finish exemplifying this, do you notice the difference in the volumes? That is why I wanted to bring this whole thing, because I really think that the changes required to make these adjustments are really, really, really small. There's not a huge request. It's not like, oh, they're going to have to re-record anything. No, all that it's needed is to adjust the volume in code, if that's supported somehow, or just change the volume of the waveform itself. So yeah, I just wanted to bring this whole thing because I really think that some of these engine sounds need a little bit of justice. Just listen to this beauty. But do you see how the average is around here and the peaks are around here? You can see it very clearly over here. The peak and the average is around here. That is why I think this is so bad. And why it needs a little bit of a fix. So again, Gameloft, I hope that I don't come off as an a-hole in regards to all of this. I just want to be really, really honest on the fact that this sounds really put me off from driving some of these cars because they're just so low. I don't enjoy driving them. So Gameloft, could you please fix this? Maybe, please? Pretty please. But anyway, that's where I'm gonna leave it for this video. For everybody else watching this video, if you watch this whole thing, I am amazed. And you gotta tell me in the comments, I don't love how quiet these engines are. And the first person to leave me that exact comment is gonna get a heart and a pin. There you go, so that it's no longer about just sending the message of first or anything. Nah. Now you send me that whole thing and I'll pin you. How about that? But anyway, if you watch all the way over here, thank you very much for watching. I hope this was somewhat interesting, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and stay safe. Bye bye.